Central America. The land bridge between North and South America was probably formed by massive tectonic forces lifting it out of the depths of the ocean in Earth's ancient past. Today, it is a tropical natural paradise separating the Caribbean from the Pacific Ocean. The land bridge is at its narrowest in the states of Panama and Costa Rica. A good 5% of all known animal species on Earth are to be found here, either on land or in the ocean. We have done some exploring in this tropical paradise and have not only gotten to know the wonderful animal life better, but also many of the people who live here, still in very close harmony with nature. The San Blas island group lies in the Caribbean Ocean off the east coast of Panama. The Kuna Indians, a small autonomous Indio group, live on the islands. They fled here during the Spanish conquest of Panama. Today, about 35,000 of them make their home on the 378 islands of the San Blas group. Wearing clothes only became tradition for them after Spanish missionaries came to the islands and required the nearly completely naked Indios to cover their bodies. The diet of the Kuna consists mainly of fish. They are caught with hand lines. This tedious method is sufficient to feed the entire family without overfishing the waters. On most of the islands, there is no electricity to run refrigerators or freezers, so the fish must be prepared right after it is caught to keep it from spoiling in the heat. The small grilled reef fish are a real delicacy. Panama's world-renowned trademark, the Panama Canal, stands in stark contrast to the lifestyle of the Kuna, which has not changed significantly since the time of the Spanish conquest. This man-made canal, completed by American civil engineers in 1914, is among the most important waterways in the world for maritime trade. About 15,000 vessels, primarily container ships, cross the canal from the Caribbean to the Pacific in just half a day. That saves the ships a trip that would have taken them around the entire South American continent before the canal was built. The canal is so important to international shipping that a special class of ship, the Panamax class, was developed. Ships of this class are built to exact specifications so that their size and draft fit the conditions for navigating the canal perfectly. The canal is currently being expanded to enable even larger vessels to use the waterway between North and South America in years to come. Keeping the waterways free of silt and sediments is a problem. Dredging the passages regularly is required to guarantee free passage. The work continues 7 days a week without pause. In the shadow of the giant ocean-going vessels gliding through this masterpiece of human engineering, the wilderness blooms. Leafcutter ants go about their business. With their strong mandibles, they cut leaves down to size and carry them back to their nests in the rainforest, often kilometers away. Here in the green rainforest, it is not the canal, but the rivers that form the inhabitants' transport network. Like here, in the Darien National Park. The park, founded in September of 1980, is located in the southeastern part of Panama on the border with Colombia. That is the southernmost part of the land bridge between Central and South America. Besides the Kuna, the Cocos Indians also live here. It is unusual for people to live in a national park, but the special relationship the Indians have to nature makes them an integral part of the overall ecosystem. Their lifestyle is adapted to the rainforest. Their huts can be taken down as quickly as they are set up. Today they use hammers and nails in place of the vines and other natural building materials used in the past. They are currently building a church. The Cocos live a sort of mixed faith. On the one hand, they cultivate Christianity, and on the other, they still honor the gods of their forefathers. While the builders are still sawing and hammering, food is already on the grill right next door. The Cocos diet consists mainly of what the forest provides. It is complemented by a bit of simple farming in small fields close to the village. Coconuts are more than just thirst quenchers. What modern science is just discovering, the Cocos have known forever. Coconut milk contains all important basic elements the body needs. In extreme emergencies, coconut milk can even be used as an alternative to a blood transfusion. As is typical for nearly all indigenous Indian tribes, besides taking care of the household and the children, the women do the handcrafting. In the meantime, many of the natural materials required have been replaced by synthetics. What have remained are the traditional forms and the brilliant colors. The bowls with the Indian patterns get good prices on the market, especially from tourists. Anyone wanting to be mobile in the rainforest needs a boat, and Miguel builds them. As his father before him, he builds his boats by hand. Choosing the right tree is the key to success in boat building. It must have grown perfectly. It takes a lot of practice to be able to handle the unstable dugout without capsizing. Muscle power has driven these boats from the beginning, but time has not stood still even in the primeval rainforest. Today, more and more classical dugouts are powered by outboard motors. Cocos children enjoy privileges the adults are denied since being missionized. Until reaching puberty, they are allowed to run around nearly naked without shame. And in the enormous heat and humidity of the rainforest, that is pleasant. The river is more than just a means of transportation for the Cocos, it is also a source of food. They hunt river fish with hand harpoons. Their catch consists mainly of small catfish. The protein-rich fish are an important complement to their mostly vegetarian diet. A special delicacy is on the menu today: rice in banana leaves. The portioned rice leaves are cooked for about an hour so that the rice is nice and sticky and easier to eat. The Cocoa plant their vegetables in fields close to the village. A small area of the rainforest is cleared for that purpose. Among other things, edible manioc roots are grown in the fields. Preparations are being made for a celebration in the village's community house. Crunchy cooking bananas, so-called plantains, are also being served. The traditional music is an invitation for the women of the village to dance. The colorful costumes and joyful music take the observer's thoughts back to another time. A time when the South American Indian tribes did not need protection from the outside world. Their trauma began with colonization and continues today with the destructive deforestation of the rainforest. Their culture stands in stark contrast to the modern world and holds members of the tribe captive in a continuous lifestyle conflict. Who am I? Where do I belong? What is being carried on the arm like a small child is not a purring kitten, but a three-toed sloth. His name is Pedro. He was found as an orphan and has adopted people as his new family. So he feels more comfortable with them than in a tree. Now the sloth no longer lives in the forest, but on a ranch. It is one of the few private breeding stations for sloths in Central America. Putting wild animals under human care is a two-edged sword. On the one hand, it guarantees the young animal's survival, but on the other, attempts to reintroduce the animal to the wild seldom succeed. In Pedro's case, he is taken to a piece of forest on the ranch every day to get him used to life in his native habitat. If it will work to eventually release him back into the wilderness is still to be seen. Patience is required. The sloth's bad reputation goes back to the Spanish conquerors. When they saw the nearly motionless animals hanging in the trees, they assumed that they were lazy. But there is a simple reason why the animals live in slow motion. Their metabolism is naturally slow, like that of the koala in Australia. They are just not able to get enough energy out of the plant nourishment they take in to move any faster. Their metabolism works so slowly that they only have to climb down from the tree every 8 days or so to relieve themselves. The sloth's half-meter-long body is a good example of a life form's adaptation to its living environment. Especially noteworthy are its long claws, which allow the animals to hang in the trees with virtually no effort. The neck vertebrae are complemented by additional breast vertebrae which are not connected to the rib cage. That allows the sloth to turn his head up to 270 degrees. The lie of its hair runs from the stomach to the back, just the opposite of other mammals, and it is essential that it be so. Otherwise, rainwater would not drain off of the animal efficiently as it hangs in the tree. By the way, the sloth has gigantic ancestors. They are thought to have been as big as cows, but at that time they lived on the ground as grazing animals. Their lethargy protects the sloth from being discovered by predators. Their good camouflage helps as well. Algae growing in their fur also help them blend into the silhouette of their green surroundings. At first, scientists categorized the sloth as primates. That has been corrected in the meantime. Now they are considered to belong to the same family as the anteater and the armadillo. Whatever science might see in him doesn't really matter to Pedro. He probably thinks he is a cuddly forest person. Gamboa Lake, comfortable and romantic. Some swallows catch insects in flight as they glide over the water surface, and the jacana does the same, only on foot. A group of howler monkeys forage for food in the crowns of the trees. For nature lovers, the small country of Panama is a real insider's tip, and the biodiversity on Lake Gamboa is impressive. From the fascinating hummingbird to the less cuddly crocodile. The jacana has nothing to fear from the large reptile. They are only interested in birds if they haven't been able to catch other prey for a long time. Fish taste a lot better to these ambassadors from prehistoric times, and so does the occasional agouti. This creature rummaging through the underbrush along the shore is related to the guinea pig. The agouti is always on the lookout for predatory cats, like the jaguar, for example. The rainforest is the most comprehensive ecosystem on Earth. Only about 10% of the sun's energy reaches the floor of the primeval jungle. That results in the plants competing for sunlight, and that in turn has its effect on the habitat of the animals, like in Costa Rica. The crown of the rainforest is not reserved for only birds and insects. Although they have no wings, real dragons also live up here. At first glance, he looks like a ferocious predator, but the green iguana is harmless. In their youth, iguanas still eat insects, but as they mature, they become strict vegetarians. They live primarily in trees and only seldom visit the jungle floor. The smell of ripe fruit attracts several lizards, even from other trees. The males are significantly larger than the females. The coloration of the green iguanas varies from animal to animal, and even a red tint is quite common. The thick crown of the rainforest allows only a few rays of warming sunlight through. That presents a dilemma for the lizards. They need the sunlight to regulate their body temperature. But this one is just lying in wait and doesn't want to be seen by his potential prey. This is a capuchin monkey, or to be more exact, a white-headed capuchin. This type of monkey normally lives in groups of 20 or more animals. This one seems to have lost contact with the group. Capuchins are among the most intelligent primates. Because they learn so quickly, they are often used in circuses. More recently, they are being trained to help disabled people in their daily lives. Beneath the smoking crater of the active Arenal volcano, the rainforest provides a comfortable habitat for the most intelligent members of the bird family as well, the parrots. The Veruga Parakeets' search for food looks more like a game, but it is just the normal everyday fight for survival. The great military macaw feeds primarily on fruits and nuts. It is no problem for him to crack hard shells with his particularly powerful beak. Military macaws live together in small family groups of 5 or 6 birds. Their relatives, the scarlet macaw, form larger groups of up to 20 or more animals. The macaw can grow to be about 90 centimeters in length and weigh up to 1 kilogram. Who wouldn't want to soar like a bird over the crowns of the rainforest trees? That is possible in Costa Rica with a cable car. The sky tram is a favorite attraction for tourists, and the gentle flight over the tree crowns is educational as well. In the jungle, most food is found in the trees, and not as previously thought on the forest floor. About a fourth of Costa Rica's original virgin rainforest is still intact. The brave ones dare to take a ride on the high-speed zip line. Whizzing over the treetop supported only by a wire cable is an experience of a special kind. By the way, it is based on a long tradition of transport across jungle valleys. In the rainforest, many plants have given up trying to grow roots in the forest floor altogether. Instead, they grow piggyback on other plants. In biological terms, these plants are called epiphytes. They get their nourishment from the host plant. This unusual-looking creature in the underbrush is a tapir. Its upper lip and nose form a short trunk with a very good sense of smell. It also helps grab its vegetarian meal. Rocks like this one testify to human habitation in the rainforest of Costa Rica in times long past. Anthropologists and archaeologists agree that humans most probably inhabited Costa Rica already about 10,000 years ago. With the arrival of Europeans and the urbanization of the country, indigenous tribes were driven from their natural habitats bit by bit. Their descendants, the Rainforest Indians of today, make up only about 2.5% of Costa Rica's population. The Museum of Indigenous Culture presents the history of the rainforest and explains the results of man's intrusive encroachment. Displays and videos alternate with artifacts from indigenous peoples to present a picture of the tropics from around 1492, the time Columbus discovered them, to the present day.
Well, here you have a map of Costa Rica, as you can see, and there are still...
Here is a map of Costa Rica. As you can see, several Indian tribes still live in the country. The big question is, however, how did people from North and South America get here?
South America, how did they arrive here? Very interesting. Now, the
Anthropologists have two hypotheses. The one assumes that they migrated over the Bering Strait in America's far north and made their way down from Alaska through Mexico to Central and South America.
Another hypothesis is that
the other proposes that people from the Pacific Islands came to Peru and Central America by boat and settled the entire continent from there.
Like this, they colonized the whole continent.
Many of the Central American masks used in the Indio cultures are integrated into traditional dances. Others are used by shamans or medicine men in their healing rituals. People of many of the ancient cultures did more than just build tools and weapons, such as the spear, for example. The more they developed, the more time they spent improving and decorating the utensils used in daily life, like these vessels. To this day, the traditional art of creating vessels like these has not been lost. This is a green, unripe fruit of the calabash tree. This fruit has a special meaning for the Indians of the Macaw tribe. They make their drinking vessels, their calabashes, from them.
Okay. Yeah, ich glaube. No.
Even for their ancestors, the watertight hull of the fruit made them an ideal container for storing water and even foodstuffs. As in times past, it is still the women's job to make the containers today. The flesh of the fruit is removed to give the container the greatest possible inner volume. Whether templates were used for the carvings in the past or not is a bit of knowledge that was not passed down. The skill with which the ladies work the surface of the fruit is amazing. Today, most of the shells are carved into decorative pieces, like wall decorations or ornate fruit bowls. They are often left in the original color of the dried fruit, but sometimes they are painted in the brilliant colors of the rainforest. The small hummingbirds are also brilliantly colored. Their wings, which they can flap up to 50 times per second, shimmer as if coated with precious jewels. These birds, weighing only a few grams, feed on flower nectar. Their highly specialized beak houses a particularly long tongue, similar to the snout of a butterfly. And as far as majestic coloration is concerned, they are the only ones that compete with the hummingbird. Their wings are covered with microscopic scales which overlap like shingles. From the rainforest, our journey takes us across this land bridge, joining the two American continents toward the coast. Regardless of which direction we take, toward the Caribbean or the Pacific, the coast is never very far away. The coasts of Costa Rica have not yet been overrun by hotels. That is particularly true of the Pacific coast. The small Cocos Island is located about 300 nautical miles off the coast of Costa Rica in the middle of the Pacific. The island, with a surface of barely 24 square kilometers, first showed up on old nautical charts in the middle of the 16th century. The real majesty of this allegedly small island becomes obvious only underwater. The island visible above the surface is the peak of a huge mountain. Nutrient-rich waters from the ocean depths flow up its slopes, resulting in unbelievably rich and diverse fish populations. The nutrient-rich water means a continuous and abundant supply of food. The supply of microscopic plankton is constantly refreshed, so the food chain never loses its foundation. A stingray. This subspecies grows to be particularly large and up to 3 meters long. Since the fatal accident of TV host Steve Irwin, stingrays have gotten an undeservedly bad reputation. The fact is, if you don't threaten them, they pose no danger to you. Stingrays feed nearly exclusively on fish and crustaceans living on the ocean floor. As with many other types of ray and also sharks, stingrays give birth to live young. The result is that fewer offspring fall prey to other predators than is the case with egg-laying fish. Another strategy of many types of fish is to produce as many offspring as possible. The larger numbers guarantee the survival of some, in spite of a large loss to predators. The richly populated waters around Cocos Island are under environmental protection in order to preserve biodiversity and counteract overfishing in the country's territorial waters. The strict control of the protected area since 1970 follows a more turbulent period in Cocos Island's history. Just before that time, today's natural paradise served as a base for whalers. And during South America's colonial days, slave ships anchored here to replenish their freshwater supplies. Pirates also used the bays of the island to hide or to find protection from storms. Several pirate captains are said to have hidden their treasures here. Captain Davis, Benito Bonito, and the notorious Henry Morgan are said to have hoarded their loot here on the island. For 300 years, adventurers and treasure hunters searched, sometimes more and sometimes less professionally, for the treasures. But the only known find to date has been a single Spanish gold doublet. The fact that the author Robert Stevenson used Cocos Island as the setting for his famous novel Treasure Island is thought to be a cynical reference to these attempts, at least for the many treasure hunters of today. But divers don't come to Cocos Island to look for gold or precious stones. They are drawn by the exciting adventure with the sharks. There are certainly more than enough of them here. During the day, the harmless white-tipped reef shark spends its time mostly on the sandy bottom or in grottos. Normally, man has nothing to fear from this relatively small 1.5 meter long type of shark. The shark's body shape and small size, however, makes it a perfect reef hunter and notorious predator of reef fish. During the night, the white-tip strategy is revealed. They roam through the reef in large schools and take their sleeping prey by surprise. Their small size works to their advantage because they often have to chase their prey into narrow clefts in the reef. Cocos Island is world-renowned for its numerous hammerhead sharks. They are normally peaceable, but when they get into a hunting frenzy, they are unpredictable and are to be approached with great care. They cruise the waters around the island in huge schools. These are young scalloped hammerhead sharks. At adulthood, they reach a length of 4 meters. Most of them leave the school to cruise the oceans alone. Their most obvious characteristic is their hammer-shaped head. It gives them an advantage in their search for food. The wide placement of their eyes gives them a broad field of vision. In contrast to other sharks, they can also look up and down at the same time. The hammer shape also enlarges the nose region. As in all sharks, the electroreceptors, the so-called ampullae of Lorenzini, are located in this region. With their help, the shark can sense the weak electrical impulses produced by the muscle movements of its prey. Although the appearance of these large schools might lead one to believe that the animal's populations are strong, the fins of the Cocos Islands hammerhead are thought by many societies to have aphrodisiac properties, and the demand is great. Poachers looking to fill that demand for good prices pose a real threat to the hammerhead population. Unfortunately, there are problems with people who have no respect for nature all over the world. But that doesn't change the fact that the land bridge between North and South America is truly one of the last paradises on Earth.